Hi. So I understand the process started in 2016, and correct me if I'm wrong in any of the assumptions. Originally, this had started as a proposal for 3 duplexes with the retention of a 4th house that had the most heritage value on the street.
No, actually, that's incorrect. We actually came forward with a multi-family condo apartment building. At the time, my client only had 3 of the 4 lots, and one of them was deemed to have character merit prior to the adoption of the plan. And at that time, the staff felt that the best typology was to do high-density duplexes. So we reapplied with a duplex scheme at that time.
Yeah, I'll add to that briefly. This was our due diligence process, if you will, started in early 2016, prior to the adoption of the Grandview Woodlands Community Plan.
I see. And then it moved to a 6-story rental building with the support of staff in light of the newly approved Grandview Woodlands plan. That's accurate? Then you went to Urban Design Panel, and it was rejected there. From my notes anyway, that there was a disconnect on the lack of fit with the immediate neighborhood. And then you went back, and I think the biggest concern that was related to me was that it was mid-block instead of end of the block. Mm-hmm. Is that accurate?
Yes, I wouldn't say it was rejected. It failed to reach the threshold of approval. So I say that because rejected gives the impression that the Urban Design Panel voted unanimously against it. It was 4-3 against. And then when we went back,
so let me walking through the steps. Then it came back to UDP in late 2018.
Correct.
And with some modifications, including a step up at the west end of the building.
Correct.
And again, the UDP rejected the proposal as being too much of a departure from the prevailing development in the neighborhood.
And I would also like to point out to Councillor Hardwick that 2 of the members of the UDP that voted in favor of the project at the first UDP meeting were not in attendance that day, and once again it was a 4-3 decision.
With the chair also.
With the chair favoring it, but not being.
I hate to tell you this, but it's still. That's still the way it plays out. So then it was the proposal was revised to a 5-story version.
Correct.
And eliminating the 2-story step, which you previously described, and having one less floor, which is about 360 square feet smaller, which is that still accurate?
It sounds correct, yes.
Okay. So I'm just trying to synopsize the feedback that I've been receiving, and I'm mindful of my time. So in your view, you have addressed the community's concerns in the redesign of the building. Has it gone, or was it required to go for a 3rd time to the Urban Design Panel?
No, it was not required to. When we met with staff, we felt that we heard loud and clear that a lot of the comments that UDP had made, and that the very considerable changes were sufficient to address the UDP concerns.
Susan Chang, development planner. If I could step in and answer that question. Subsequent to the 2nd urban design panel, the panel noted that the initial recommendations from the first review had been addressed, and there were no additional recommendations to review. However, contextual fit was still a concern. After the 2nd review, the project was revised, and staff felt that the 3rd submission with the reduced height and density did not require a 3rd review. However, we will seek another review at the development permit stage and seek specifically advice from the Urban Design Panel to address neighborhood fit. Additionally, there are 5 conditions as part of this rezoning application seeking improvements for neighborhood fit and compatibility, and 4 conditions to minimize impacts to adjacent properties.
Is there anything in there about slope?
To address the site slope, I think the fact that the building has been lowered a full story does address many of the impacts to the slope. I know that we have heard back a perception of this building being 8 stories, and I'm not understanding that. The overall height is 56.7 feet to the top of parapet. I think if this were an 8-story building, you'd be looking at about an 86-foot height. To be fair, given the slope site condition, probably at the lowest elevation, it will appear 6-story, given significant slopes. At the same time, at the highest point of the site, we're looking at a 4.5-story perception.
Great, thanks. We're at the 5 minutes. And if
Thank you.
Put yourself back on the list, of course, Councillor Hardwick, if you like.